Cyberpunk, a game many people believe would give them a breath of fresh air. I myself believed it, or at least hoped for it. I knew, as probably many knew, this game weren't gonna be a revolutionary one. But nonetheless of how it turned out to be, I still found myself playing it for hours, days even. Cyberpunk 2077 is many things, and I, who have played over 150 hours and gathered all the achievements on Steam and done all the missions possible in the game, would like to bring up these things and spread some light on it. Okay, so the story. In my opinion, it's straight up really good and great written. It makes sense, it appears as a real world with real problems that you find yourself in, and it really allows you to feel this world and entangle yourself in it and its problem. The side missions, the gigs, and the NCPDs also really help with this. It is a really nice add-on to this world, and it makes it feel bigger and more realistic, as well as adding a lot of depth to it overall. As well as the romance options. The romance options are great. Love every single one of them and their story. I found the romance storylines being very empathetic and true to life. I enjoy them so much I would even like to see more of it. As well, having to kill or save important characters actually impacts the story and or the dialogues, but not majorly, so that's important to note. All the music and soundtracks are all great. Though I don't find myself listening to the radio all too often, I still love every soundtrack that I encounter through the game. You might be wondering, well, how much content is there in Cyberpunk 2077? Well, roughly 100 hours if you're going to do everything. And as you can see, there's a lot of missions, a few hundreds or so. This is all the gigs, all the NCPDs, side missions, and some of the main missions. And the gameplay itself, I find being very solid, I guess. I put it in the good because I personally like it. There are some aspects of the gameplay that are very off, but I will get to that later on. But a part of the gameplay, we have the melee weapons and the mechanics of meleeing, and I find it overall satisfying in my opinion, and find myself using the katana a lot. As well as the hacking mechanic, it's for me is unique and an overall new experience for me, since I haven't done that form of how should you say it, playing games before. As well as the cyberware system is very fun to use and unique from what I've experienced in video games before. I like the fact that upgrades are assigned to different body parts, and just the overall idea of the cyberware system. So now, with all of this, they're giving you the possibility to play all sort of styles. Pacifist, murderous hacker, loud with guns blazing, and silent assassin. Even fisting your way through the game will work. Just amazing and very fluctuated in the playstyle. There is no correct way to play the game, you play it your own way, in your own pace, and that's what I really like about it. So once again, as a part of the gameplay, we have the gunplay and the fists. Both feels wrong in a way. It's hard to really put it to words, but the fist fighting is just overall clunky. Which is sad because I really enjoyed the boxing aspect of the game and even wish there were more of it. The illusion of choice. You think your choices has impact on the story, but that's not always true. You find yourself at what you think is a crossroads and will take a completely different path in the story many times, and depending on what you choose, it's very important, but that is for the majority not the case. It's not like you can deny the quest giver and end up on a different path. You can also be an absolute asshole to the NPCs and they will be fuming in the dialogue, but they will still happily give you the mission whatsoever. The life paths you choose in the beginning needs more impact. I can only find 2 scenarios where it quote-unquote majorly impacted the story. One being when you were a corpo, you could cut a deal with a woman and basically you had to pay for to know a location of an item. But as a corpo you could like cut like 90% of the cost, which was really nice. And one with a nomad, you can prevent an attack from two other nomads attacking a guy that you're helping out, essentially skipping out on a fight. But when it comes to the street kid, I have actually no idea how majorly it impacts the story of the choices, at least not what I have found. The vehicle customizations is also an important thing for me. Vehicles are a big part of the game since it's a big map that relies on being explored. So having more customizations to add your own personal touch for me is important, or for the very least much appreciated. This also goes for the character customization, but not as important, because you only find yourself looking in the mirror those few times and a little bit more in the inventory, I guess. Because the character customization in terms of the hair color, etc. is all permanently locked from the beginning of the game after selecting the body type and etc. And the clothing options should be just more in general and have one separate for the look of the clothing and one for the stats of the clothing, so you can look one way but still wear that good armor or good gear and get the best stats. This brings me to the crafting and mods. So I actually made a video about the mods and a little bit about the stats in it, and the mods are just completely broken. Some doesn't even work, some stacks, some doesn't stack. It's just a complete mess. And even then, I don't find many mods that are good, honestly. So there's only a handful of mods that I use. And there isn't much more to crafting either. It's very bland, so to speak. It feels like the devs just threw it in the last second just to be like, oh, there's crafting by the way, but it's not much to it, honestly. So this is more of a optional bad or good thing. So the minimal impact on the story. Now this is a callback to the illusion of choice. You just go along for the ride, more or less. I mean, after all, it's just a story, so what's gonna happen is inevitable. You can alter it, but more or less it's the latter. Personally, I had hoped that my choices would affect the story much more, so this is a bad thing for me. We all saw this coming, but the AI. The AI is just funky, so to put it. All AIs works the same, they react at the same time and they do exactly the same thing at the same time, as I will demonstrate on the screen. You can shoot on a car and they will get out at the same time. By the way, to note that they all get out calm and collectively. It's not like just because you shot they're scared in their movements when they get out of the car, but then as they directly when they get out of the car they crouch down and get scared. It would be nice if they actually added so they could either run away from you, they would stay in the car but try to drive away, some even attack you, a little bit of everything to add more depth to this world and the NPCs. As well as if you were to stand in the middle of a road, cars would just keep on coming, forming a big line, and they wouldn't do anything. It's not like in GTA 5 where they would try to drive around you because you were blocking the way. They will just stand there still. So the AI in this game is very dumb as of right now, and there isn't much to it, and it kinda brings the game down in my opinion. Then we have the physics, and the physics is just off the zoinkers, really. I mean, you can be driving over a human and your car will be flying like 10 meters up the sky because physics. Because why not? I mean, the physics are just really bad as of right now. Hope they fix this in the future. Nothing more really to say about this one. And then there's of course the bad optimization. I mean, I'm running on a Ryzen 5 3600 and a 2070 Super. and I'm not getting a consistent 60 FPS. Even if I were to put DLSS on and put everything on low in the settings, I still wouldn't hit a consistent 60 FPS. There's some places in, I believe, the Yig Street or Yig Town, whatever it's called, where it drops down to the 40-50 range. Now, of course, the last but not the least, bugs. And there is a metric ton shit of them. Like, this game, you could say, is famous for its bugs because there's so many, and there's so many different ones, and even they patch a few, there's 1,000 more. Now, I don't feel like going through all of this. It kind of speaks for itself. Now, after all this, I would probably put Cyberpunk at a rating of 6.5 out of 10. A game with great potential. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you will get a better understanding of Cyberpunk at its current state. Goodbye and have a great day.